Eyes Wide Shut was directed by one of my all-time favorite directors, Stanley Kubrick, and was released in 1999, only a few days after Kubrick's death. So guys, I watched this movie a couple weeks ago, and it's taken me that long to process everything in order to make a review for it. I don't even really know where to begin with this movie. I guess first off, I'll say it's beautifully filmed. Like every other Kubrick movie, the use of color is on point, and the acting is phenomenal. Very simply put, the story is about a married couple played by the real-life married couple of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And one night, Alice, the wife, tells her husband Bill of a time where she had desires of cheating on him with a naval officer. What follows is the adventures of Bill trying to take revenge on her, or redeem his manliness, whatever you'd like to call it, by going out and cheating on his own. Like every Kubrick movie, there is hidden meaning in almost every shot of every scene, and this one is left up to interpretation probably more so than any of his other movies, even 2001. And guys, it's going to be really hard to review this one and go as in-depth as I need to without going into spoilers, so most of this review will be full of spoilers, and I'll put up a little visual cue when the spoilers are over if you just want to skip ahead to that. But you've been warned, spoilers start now. So there are many ways to interpret this movie. First, and this is a really popular one, I think it's about the Illuminati, but I'm not going to go into depth on this one. You guys can go on YouTube. There's a million videos about how this movie is about the Illuminati and stuff. Go watch those. I'm not going to talk about that in this one. I am going to talk about some other ways I interpret it, though. So one of the ways to interpret this movie is that Bill's adulterous journey is all but a dream. He is haunted by the thoughts of his wife with that naval officer that she described earlier in the movie. So in his dream, he goes out to one of his patients' house to find that he is dead and his daughter is there mourning him. And all of a sudden, she, in her mourning state, she just throws herself upon him and kisses him. Like, how likely is this? She's mourning the death of her father, and she decides to express her love for a man she barely even knows and kisses him. This is because in his subconscious, he wants other women to just throw themselves at him. He doesn't go through with it, though. He walks away from the situation. Later on in the street, he encounters a group of men who throw insults at him, calling him gay. This is his subconscious telling him that his manhood has been stripped away. And then it produces a prostitute for him so that he can earn back his manlyhood. He backs out again, but then he goes to the crazy cult party. This is his subconscious producing a similar party to where he went earlier with his wife. The real party he went to earlier was just a facade for sexual immorality. The host sleeps with a woman, even though he's married. His wife dances with some guy who's flirting with her, and Bill himself even flirts with two girls at the party. The party in his dream is a more realistic impression of what happened at the actual party. In this version, the guests are wearing literal masks instead of putting on fake faces, which is what they do at the real-life party. And in the dream party, it is clear that their intentions are that they've come for sex, as opposed to in the real-life party, they try to hide it. He even talks to two different women in his dream, just like he did earlier in the movie at the real-life party. And guys, the title of the movie is called Eyes Wide Shut. He is dreaming. Your eyes are shut while you're asleep, obviously. So, moving on to another way that you can interpret this movie is that the obsession of sex can cost you, both literally and figuratively. Throughout the whole movie, Bill is willing to just throw away hundreds of dollars chasing these sexual fantasies, so it does cost him literally. But figuratively, it costs him his trust between he and his wife, and while she is willing to forgive him in the end, she's weary of the word forever being thrown around about their relationship. And guys, his name is even Bill. Like Dollar Bill? So he's throwing himself away. Like he's reducing his own self. He's going down to a lower level in order to achieve his sexual desires. Another way to look at this movie is that it shows the true nature of infidelity and lust. Every single attempt that Bill makes at achieving his sexual desires, he is thwarted. He never actually ends up satisfied. When he meets up with the hooker, his wife calls him and interrupts the situation. He is instantly filled with shame and guilt and walks away from the situation. When he goes to the party, he never reaches his goal of having sex, but is then put on the spot in front of hundreds of people who now know his identity and is now topped full to the brim of shame. I also just want to pause for a second and admire this scene. It is horrifying. All of those people in masks, literally and figuratively looking down upon him. Ugh! It's perfectly framed to make you feel as though you're in his shoes with hundreds of people around you and you're at the center of attention, and you don't know what's going to happen to him. Most everyone has never seen or even heard of a situation like this, and this gives Kubrick the advantage of mystery, which he uses to his advantage to build loads of tension and loads of discomfort. Okay, so next he goes back to the prostitute's house to try again, and he finds out that she's been diagnosed with AIDS or HIV. Either way, he's filled with shame and has to walk away. And then he goes home, and at this point, the shame is too much, and it just spills right out of the top of him. His wife, allegedly, has left his mask on his pillow, so she knows everything that he's done. She knows that he's been infidelitous, or at least has attempted to. So, this is the true nature of lust and infidelity. It is only empty promises, and it leaves you with nothing but shame and guilt. Okay, the spoilers are over, but I have one more way that I interpret this movie that I will quickly go over, and that is just kind of looking at it as a romance movie. Just relating to their relationship. You can enjoy this movie without really getting too deep into it. As I said earlier, the acting in this movie is just fantastic. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman play their characters in such a way that they're easy to relate to, and their characters are written in such a way that they're easy to relate to. They're written as real people. I was able to identify with how Bill was feeling a lot in this movie, and even sometimes Alice. And the reason for this is because it feels like an actual relationship, not just some movie romance. Even from the get-go, you see that Bill has lost his wallet. He asks Alice where it is. She knows exactly where it is. Then we go to the bathroom and we see Alice sitting on the toilet. Bill goes in there. She gets up, she asks how she looks, and he replies that she looks great even without even looking at her. Guys, this is such a simple scene that lets the viewer know a lot about their relationship, and they already feel relatable to the viewer. I would also like to say this is a great mystery movie, and this is noteworthy because in the hands of a less skilled director, all of the subject matter within this movie could feel jumbled and it could feel messy. But Kubrick is able to balance everything so well, and he doesn't even give the viewer all the answers. The mystery aspect of the movie isn't even really at the forefront. The plot is Bill going out and trying to fulfill his fantasies. The mystery is then just an underlying theme to the viewer trying to figure out what is going on screen. The attention to detail is unparalleled. As I said earlier, everything in every scene is just perfectly crafted, and everything has a meaning to it as well, which is what makes this movie so dense. There's so much just squeezed in to one movie. There are several scenes throughout that left me very unsettled too, especially the cult scene. The entire movie is full of an uneasiness sort of feeling, and a lot of that is due to Tom Cruise's acting, but really you just don't know what's going to happen to him next. You feel as though at any moment something terrible could happen, which keeps the viewer invested, fully invested in the film. Even though it is a very long movie, you don't feel it. Guys, there is so much to dissect about this movie. It's going to be one that's talked about for decades to come, and I think it's possibly Kubrick's best movie. I'm going to give it an easy 10 out of 10. Guys, I barely scratched the surface of Eyes Wide Shut. Let me know what you thought about Eyes Wide Shut in the comments below and what you yourself get out of the movie. I'd be curious because there are several different ways to interpret it. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Otherwise, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for my next review.